Hey everybody, I just realized that I didn't reveal the WWF roster. Now, I think the reason I haven't done that yet is because I'm still missing two guys out of the 50 people roster. They are Chuck Palumbo and Johnny Stamboli. Stamboli is supposed to be finished up pretty soon. Um, I originally had built one, and then I originally had paid commission to have one built, but he was so far down the line, I actually built my own. And then the person who saw it was like, "Dude, I can make this way better looking." So I sent the parts off to him to verify it. So I didn't build that one myself, but he's part of the roster nonetheless. The Stamboli, I'm just waiting for the head from Mark. Still waiting on that head. So also the Mike Awesome head and the Disco Inferno head. So I can finally get those ones on here. But I digress. Let's start with the roster. So if you remember the video for WCW, you have like the 20 people or so that start out in like, well, for them it's Thunder. For this it's going to be Heat. So here's the Heat roster. So you got IRS, and I've seen people do a much better version of this since I put this one together. This is back when I didn't try to do any type of anything other than torso swapping at best. But now, I mean, I may go back and look into trying to get this one better. I mean, I don't mind this one as much right now. This one I didn't build myself. This one actually, I would build it if I didn't find it on Macari for cheap. So I found it though. Ultimate Elias. So this one lucked out. Someone was, I guess, boiling or trying to dye down the torso, and they happened to dye it down just enough to match perfectly for a Superfly Jimmy Snuka Ultimate. Some people, of course, have gone on, done the legs and whatnot, and just had the trunks. He is not on ball joints, though, so, I mean, can be careful. You could tear that apart, and that's an expensive, hard to replace figure. This one originally was an Elite Custom, and originally I built it with like Undertaker body in mind. He was way too tall, way too jacked. So I did end up taking apart the Elite custom version and putting on a torso, and then bringing out other everything else to make Ultimate Kevin Thorne. So I know he's missing the black tie, but I can't for life figure out how to find action figure ties. This one was built by Mark Besk, who does he does a pretty good job. He's been doing these for a while. Um, Originally, I had more of a uniformed, uh, what do you call it, color scheme, and then he did these ones and whatnot. And then I saw that this person had did have wider legs because he didn't tan his legs as much as he did his upper body. But here's Tully Blanchard with wrist tape. The other ones didn't have wrist tape, so I kind of stepped up a little bit on it, and I'm not bothered by a little bit of difference because people back in those days did tan a lot of their body more than their legs because that's what people looked at more. Next up, Barry Windham. Add the glove, and then I think someone also went and has done this since then as well. There's also you can get the Barry Windham head out there if you don't want the Mattel version. You can get ones as well. Plan to make Kendall. Plan to make Bobby Duncan Jr. as well in the future. AJ Torso for this one, it worked really well. You have to, of course, acetone off carefully the tattoos, of course, but you can get yourself a Dean Malenko Ultimate. Okay. This one was originally a custom I found with a Paul Orndorff, but I already had a Paul Orndorff, so after doing some digging and some pictures and whatnot, and then started working with decals. First, I used cloth trunks and cloth knee pads. I didn't like how it looked. It, the cloth works on singlets, maybe on tights, maybe on like a full bodysuit if you can't find anybody, but for trunks, it just looks too bulky. But check out Chris Masters. Ultimate Chris Masters. And I had the kick pads to give him a little bit taller because he was a little bit taller than a lot of his adversaries. Next one here, I've seen people do a fringe trunks. I don't know how to do that. Originally, it's a Stone Cold custom, and I threw the torso on there, and I think it looks pretty well. I might go back and hit it with longer wristbands and tape fists. I might even go back and use the Jack's head, but Jamie Noble. these ones I built myself. I used a Rick Rude. I usually don't use the new style very much, but this one just had to work perfectly for the skin tone, and it kept the arms the way they are. But here is Fashion Police Fandango. So now I do have, and speaking of Fandango, I'm using either his lower single run for the Disco Inferno, or I'm just gonna use Black Pants. I'm not sure yet because I feel like these are more disco looking pants than the black ones I found. But do I want to go generic black and white wrist tape Disco Inferno, or do I want something a little outlandish? So I haven't decided yet. I might let wrestling, I might let the Facebook group decide on that one. Now, this one I'm not going to go too much into because you can get him just standard in red or purple, but I went with the green. It doesn't have drop down hips, that's why I went with it. And the original purple one, it's so loose and wobbly at this point, it's very hard to find that one. This one here I was pretty proud of. Obviously, he gets action figures galore still. I don't see him getting a Mattel anytime soon again, but here is Ultimate Zack Ryder. Yeah, I know Matt Cardona. Yeah, but this is Zack Ryder time. All right, this person here, I've seen people complaining and whining about it, and I understand. I'd be upset too. I mean, you got his tag partner, and this guy deserves one more than his tag partner ever did. But here's my version of Ultimate Miz. Now, fun fact about this guy: this is the first figure I ever converted. I used a Ric Flair torso, and I didn't actually even pop the whole thing off. I only popped enough open, was able to lock him in there and then seal it. So really, he is dang near factory perfect. I was still new at this one, so I forgot to put a spacer. I don't think I checked the spacer properly, but he's not loose, not wobbly, so it works. All right, we take the belt off the current European champion. Don't want to. Well, crud, I showed off some spoilers. Anyway, here is my version of Rob Conway. I even added a little tattoo or decal of him, in the face and whatnot. I thought about originally doing trunks with like leopard print, and then I used, of all people, Goldberg body because he was pretty jacked during his. I want to say it was almost like Buff Bagwell-esque type, he had the whole music and the "just look at me, ain't I a sight?" It literally, like, I think he would have went better if it wasn't for that song. That song just was so jarring. You got all these like cool songs, he's got "just look at me." It's like, nah, come on. Here's one half because the other one's currently on the other roster because he has more points in this one, so he's on the lower tier right now. But here is Jesse Gemini. Pretty simplistic. All it was a Stone Cold body. Switch out the arms with Undertaker arms. Throw on some, Lesnar MMA gloves. Put on the decal. And put on the Jack's head, and boom, you got yourself Gemini. Now this one here I've changed a few times, but this time I found the perfect height for him because he is not that big. Nunzio of the FBI. And like I said, Johnny and Chuck are both still not here yet. But when they do arrive, you can believe that they're going to be reunited as the FBI. And who knows what's going to happen. If they're going to run supreme or if they're going to win any belts or... You don't know. It's all on the dice roll. Okay, this one here, built before it was announced. And of course, when they do get the new one, I probably will just... I probably will finish painting this one off or whatever and use it for a different person. I'm almost wanting to use these boots for like Nikita Koloff or something. But for now, here is $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. Now, obviously, you can use the Stone Cold torso. You could probably use the Terry Funk even. Because they're making a new one come out with the Coliseum collection, he will be obsolete at one point. Yes, the new one will have drop down hips. But I did tell myself that if they make the person, then I will change it over to that person and either sell off the custom or rework the custom to somebody else. And since I'm trying to build 500, I need all the body parts I can keep. All right, next person. Not my greatest work. I commissioned somebody else to apply the decals. They did not use Micro Soul, they'll use a set, so it really came out rough. Super crazy. And you can see it came out really rough. I may end up attacking this one, trying this one again. I used the Macho Man. You can see right there's the yellow still. I need to get a fine tip and tape this off so I can really get that little part, because that's the last part that's sticking out and it's noticeable. If you take the whole thing out, though, you'll have a huge gap. It'll look weird. So you want to keep that and just kind of cut slowly, clip away at it, and then paint it. And you won't really notice it too much. He did a good job placing it. It's just really rough. The best thing, I've Mod Podged it already. It's already sealed. So, all I can really do is maybe take a very fine tip black marker and color around it to kind of fill it in a little bit better. The red I might be able to touch up a little bit, but then it's going to stick out a little bit. Maybe do the whole thing carefully in red, but it's a work in progress. Not all of them are going to be top notch. It's decent though. It does work. But why stop with one Mexicool when I can have two Mexicools? And here is Psychosis. I used a Rey Mysterio black lower half because it's already black. All I had to do was just kind of color in the erase paint over the decals instead of using acetone. I did send the head off to Cujo, same with the Super Crazy, to be painted to match the skin Ric Flair torso skin tone. The decals, the tattoos, thanks to Curb Stomp, as always. And I know his wrists aren't accurate because he had like a black and white setup. And when I sent these off, I forgot to match that in there. And now they've got their tattoos on there. And I may have the tattoos still. I don't know if there's only one set or not. They sent two. So I could hit that one again. But for the most part, I'm not too worried about it. Putting some just black wrist tape over there just works just fine. He sometimes had it, sometimes he didn't. And the last one, why have two Mexicools when you can have three Mexicools? And I still need to get some white wrist tape for him or something like that, or do something. But check out Juventud Guerrera. Now again, Rey Mysterio lower. I didn't apply the decals myself. They were applied by somebody else who does a great job. It's just he doesn't use Soul, so it doesn't blend. It's a little rougher in certain areas. I went over with the little Mod Podge again. He Mod Podged it once. I Mod Podged it once as well. Definitely on the face. The face painted by Cujo. Matched it up perfectly. Looks great. Only thing that's missing is he's got, he needs wristbands of some sort. And looking at it right now, I realize that there's no tattoos on the forearms. So I might just knock these forearms off and use like X-Pac forearms because they have a white, elongated wrist tape. Excuse me. I got my retainer in. I had braces, and I want to keep my teeth straight because it's expensive not to do it. So, Juventud, let me put his light heavyweight title. Oh, shout out to Koa Belts for the light heavyweight title. The one belt that Mattel just seems to ignore every time I ask when it comes to ask your questions. Hey, Mattel, you're making all these belts. Can you make the light heavyweight title? And it never gets answered. I've asked it probably the last 6 years. I'm like, can we get the light heavyweight title? Can we get the light heavyweight title, please? It's cool to get the 1970s WF title. It's cool to get the NWA title. But unless we're going to get the NWA tag belts, or whatever, it's still cool to get those belts, but light heavyweight title. Why can we not get the light heavyweight title? How hard would that be to make? Alright. On to the next part of the roster. I know this video is long. I'll go quicker. I apologize. Explaining too much. I'm also sharing too many formulas, I think. But I'll get better formulas. Now, I'm just moving people out of the way real quick. I'll show off the people who are on the roster, even though they are not customs. Not everybody's custom. Surprisingly, when I did the drafts, though, not a lot of people got picked who were regular. But then again, I also looked and realized there's not a lot of... there's about 30 actually released figures from Mattel. But I'm up to almost 400 at this point, Ultimates. And someone said, you're a madman, or you're crazy, or this and that. Like, when are you going to stop? And I said, 500. So I will say it's getting harder to build them because it requires more and more parts, more and more painting. Obviously, when Mattel releases, it's pretty deadly, and those kind of guys, I'll be snagging them and updating them. But Hogan, you can get him easily. Andre, you can get him fairly easily. George Still is still up on Mattel Creations. So there's a couple guys right there. This one could cost you a little bit of money, but Doink the Clown. I think I have 2 more of these Doink the Clowns. Just sitting in a box. I do plan to take one of my Diesels and actually have it turned into Wrath. So look forward to that one from 3XR in the future. And Ric Flair. Okay, so we got all the people you can buy from Mattel. Now let's knock out the other ones. So we saw Fandango earlier. Check out Tyler Breeze. So Tyler Breeze, I think it was an AJ. Yeah, it was an AJ torso. Works, really well on that one. I always like the older style one. Let's get Undisputed Era in here. Obviously, you're supposed to have Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. You can get Adam Cole in AEW right now, but here is the Redragons, Undisputed Era. There's a tattoo. Fun fact about this one, actually, it was originally made entirely by somebody else, but the torso, the lower part was so damaged that I ended up swapping it with something else, and the tattoo was just already on there from the person applying it, so I basically made this one better. I made it uniform, too, because it matches. So you got Kyle O'Reilly. I added the decal on there myself. I applied, after I got more confidence up, I put my decals on. But then you need Roderick Strong. So there's Roderick Strong in the Undisputed Era. But of course, without this guy, Adam Cole. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute, he's in AEW now. Yeah. So the way it works is this. If I can build them into an Ultimate, whether they're on AEW or whether, they're in WWE, whether they're on anything, Jax or whatever it is, I'm going to do that. So that's why Ty Dillinger, Shawn Spears, has an Ultimate, because I just got done building a Ty Dillinger. So if I could make a Samoa Joe would be an Ultimate, but currently there's no type of body for him. So if they start making like more Samoan looking guys, wider, Rikishi, that kind of stuff. Next up, Grayson Waller. I built this one. I remember building this one, and unfortunately I made a mistake. While I was waiting for it to glue, I had my gloves on, and the gloves kind of took a little bit off there, so it's got a little bit of marks on them. I probably might hit this one again in the future with a different torso, just maybe. Next one's pretty cool though. So let me find. First off, let me show you the other half of Gemini. There is Jake Gemini. Same concept. There's a decal. Probably, it's like I think the second or third attempt applying decals when I started doing this. So I'm getting better and better at it. These ones are good though. They still came out really clean. I have butchered one or two here and there. So taking a Velveteen Dream and a Stone Cold torso and a Jack's head, I was able to create Simon Dean. Even, it's a little, obviously I used acetone and he's got like an airbrush kind of thing to his gear, but it works. I feel like it makes it more of a cloth look. AJ torso, lower half, TJ Perkins. TJP. Obviously, I remember when this figure came out, I was thrilled. I actually got this figure before a lot of people. eBay, man, finding those magical, random stuff out there. Just know how to search, and sometimes you can find really cool stuff. Now, this one here, because I switched out the body with the lower, I think it works really well for a more jacked up version of him compared to that drop down hip lanky version. So here's my Eddie Guerrero. And this is more of like his late. If I could, I was gonna put the head with the blonde into it, but it doesn't. The skin tone don't match up, so it's unfortunate. But I remember Eddie being jacked near the end of his life. I remember he was definitely in the feud with Batista and Ray. He was hitting the roids pretty hard. This one here I was gonna do myself, but then someone beat me to it, so I just bought it from him. So, Virgil, Ultimate Virgil. So you can see I'm like, as I build these guys, I'm running out of people to build. Like, do I build Nails next? I mean, who else am I gonna build? So this one here, I've seen people using the Jim Neidhart torso, but this wasn't available when I did it. So I built him with just using a singlet and lower boots from Finley. I gave him more of his basic figure build because basic was like really thin and more cut, whereas his elite was just kind of overweight. Also, that was a terrible figure to move. I was always afraid the leg was going to break off. So it works for now. I might hit the formula again in the future if I see parts that work better. How about Ultimate Val Venus? Now, originally I had just done a silver paint on this, and it was just black and silver. Then I got into decals, and for the most part, I did a pretty good job on the decal. I made sure the boots and the kick pad, or the socks in between, using a JBL because he had kind of had that at times. Sometimes he didn't, sometimes he did. I was almost trying to crush one of my figures. Now I'm going to be switching the head out on this one when the new Elite one comes out, but for now, here is Austin Theory. Now I didn't build this one. Um, it was pretty common to see this one on eBay for a few, so I snagged this one up. His new attire does look pretty sick. I might revisit that one. I believe what they used for this one was, for the life of me, I think it's one of the newer torsos, and then arms from clearly Undertaker to make him jacked. So it looks pretty good though. I'll give it that. It definitely is that. Now this you're gonna say, well, that's not accurate attire. Well, it is not. Because I haven't got the decals because nobody's made the decals. Now I did talk to 3XR. I've talked to people about making the decals. I've been met with silence for the most part. So for the time being, here is Sylvan. I used an MVP lower, swapped out the legs, put some kick pads in there, put these little JBL arms in there because he did have like little bands around his arms. And for the most part, it worked for a Sylvan. I mean, once the decal arrives, I will put the little S decal here. And probably keep the red still because it looks pretty cool. Alright, video's going long. We're trying to get down here. Just like I said, 50 people. Trying to do as best I can. You'll need a Jack's head for this, or you can go out and get a custom one. But these are the kind of pants right here that would be for the Disco Inferno. Stone Cold torso, jacked Ken Shamrock, or no, Undertaker arms to get more of a bulkier arm look because the head was so big that you need bigger arms to make it match. Otherwise, it would look like you just had a big bobblehead. Steve Blackman. Now you're thinking, well, where's his red on his shoes? He wore black as well. I probably could have tried to find something, but I just kept it with pretty generic, pretty simplistic. Steve Blackman. Now you could use George the Animal Steel to give him more of the rounded look. I feel like with the shirt on though, you don't really need to do that, because the shirt kind of covers up anyway. Cassius Ono. Ultimate Cassius Ono. Also Chris Hero. Now here's Arn Anderson. Scott Hall torso again, kind of a little bit of discoloration in the legs and the arms. And originally he was actually even way more discolored because they had the wristbands instead. I decided to go with this version here and use the other one for a different person. In fact, I took the torso off that one to build my Berserker, because I needed a body for him, and I just needed jacked arms, and the shirt covers over, so you could use anything, really. I found that, if the shirt covers it, like my Jamal, I use Andre. You can't see it, so what's it matter? I'm not going to talk too much about this because I've already done a detailed video on this one, but Funaki, still very, very proud of the Funaki. I guess the only thing I could really do is maybe take some white paint and paint back here, but I'm not worried about it. It looks great. Wait till you see Taka Michinoku. He's, currently being reevaluated. Now this one I didn't build. I bought this one, so I'm not going to take credit for anything. But here is Ultimate CM Punk, and I'm thinking they're going to make an Ultimate CM Punk. Of course they are. But when that happens, I'm going to take these arms and I'm going to switch out, probably these biceps with official, because these are, you can see right here, it's like these some sort of like material to make these. And I'm going to use these arms because they have the proper tattoos. And then I'll have a proper tattooed CM Punk. Without the custom. King Kong Bundy. Getting down to the nitty gritty here. The final two. King Kong Bundy. Andre torso. Bundy legs because it's ball joints. Singlet from the Mattel. This is a very expensive custom fix-up. So there's King Kong Bundy. Of course, you can do this. You could try to do the Jack's head. You could, or you can just wait till I think that they're doing something with him pretty soon, but it looks like an egg shape. But there's King Kong Bundy. And last one, using a Brock Lesnar torso and painting, which is why I sent this off to Cujo, not just him, but other people, because he did a great job. Dino Bravo. I mean, he literally painted and did this When I sent this to him, the Dino was built originally by somebody else who was in black with like just a Dino on the back, scratched in there, almost etched in there, and the back was kind of jacked up. So what he did is he literally went through. I think he recracked it, he reset it, and then he painted the boots. He painted the decal, even the phenomenal job on the face. Like, so I have a Dino Bravo now because I don't see him ever getting a figure, uh, given his circumstances of his death and mob ties and stuff like that. So anyway, that is the WWF roster, and my dog over here is impatient and wants to lay down. So let me pull him over here. There he is. Come here, you. Say hi, Tanner. There's Tanner trying to come over here and get into the picture because he's like that. Anyway, that's the 50 people, 48 people for the WWF roster. Of course, stay tuned. I'll be releasing more formulas. Of course, if you haven't checked it right now, check out the Jamal Ultimate formula and review if you'd like. But this video is going live right now. I filmed, or I guess simulated, up until the August month starting. So you might have seen some champions. I might have mentioned some stuff by mistake. But stay tuned if you're following that. And if you are, suggestions are always welcome. Again, I'm not here to try to get you to sign up for a Patreon or like that. I always welcome suggestions if you think that I can improve upon somebody, or if you think I can try to build somebody, and you're wondering if these parts would work. I can give you, I have a lot of stuff in here. I can tell you what worked and what didn't work. Anyway, the video's gone long enough. Have a good night.